Okay, so our first project that we're going to do is to create a pinhole camera or a camera obscura. So it's a camera with a pinhole aperture and no lens. So you're going to need a container, like a Pringles container, some paper, scissors, an X-Acto knife, or a box cutter, some tape, a Sharpie, and then you want to make sure that your container is empty. So you can buy one and use the rest as a snack, but then make sure that you go clean it out. We don't want to have any crumbs. We're going to be holding this up to our eye and looking through it, so we don't want them to get in the way or it to contaminate later. Okay, so as I was saying, these are all the materials you need. So you can pause it right here, make sure you get all the materials out. Once you have all of them, we are going to cut our container. If you have a Pringles container, you still want to make sure that you have the lid and everything, but we're going to cut it in the middle to make a screen. So what I did first is I used my Sharpie and drew a line on it so that the circle would be even, and so it didn't end up getting slanted. So I just held the marker in place and turned my container around. Then I'm going to take my box cutter, cut right along that line. And you want to be very careful. Make sure that you are aware of where your fingers are. You're holding the container. If it moves, make sure that you don't end up moving your fingers into where the box cutter is. Make sure that you're cutting carefully because we do not want to have any injuries. Okay, so now we're going to want to clear up our space a little bit and use our lid to trace out a circle. You could even use the edge of the container because we want to make sure that this fits on the inside of the lid. I would draw it out on the edge of your paper like this so that we can save as much of the paper as we can and someone else can use any of the scrap paper. If you leave a space like that first one, then there's more wasted paper and we want to make sure that we don't waste it. So then once you have the circle drawn out, we're going to cut out that circle. Just cut it carefully along that line. I'm cutting more on the inside of the line because I want it to be a little bit smaller so it fits inside of the lid. Okay, so now we have our screen and we're attaching it to the piece, like the bottom piece that we cut off. And then we're going to attach it to the other part. So we'll attach it by taping around the edges. You want to make sure that no light is getting into your camera, just like when we have our cameras, we don't want any light to expose it to our film or it'll create a glare or you won't really be able to see the image. So we need a completely light, tight container, except for our one pinhole, which we'll be adding in a little bit. So once you put the tape on, you could even look at it in the dark to make sure that no light is getting through there. If you need to add more around it, you can. So you can try different ways to make this pinhole, but I find that the best way is to use a hammer and a nail, because then you get a really small circle. You can always start smaller and make the hole bigger, but you can't ever make it smaller. So make sure that you're being careful with how big you make it. You could also use the top of like the sealant, or you can use some foil to go around your container as well to make sure that no light is getting in your container. Just make sure that it does not cover your pinhole and that there's nothing poking around the other side, because you're going to be holding it up to your face. So we're just going to tape that in place. If you need any foil, again, it really just depends. All right, then we can go test this out. So you'll want to go outside and see how at first it's hard to see because there's still light getting through it. But now you can start to see that it's reflecting the trees and it's upside down. That's what's going to happen inside of your camera. This is really like the basic version of the cameras that we will be using. The light goes in through the lens, just like the pinhole. It projects on a screen, and our screen is our film. We can't let any light get in there, or you can't really see it, or it'll mess up the film. And then the view finder, or the other side of the container, that's where you're looking through to be able to get the right picture that you want. Okay, so go ahead and make your own. You'll take a picture of it looking like it does on the left, showing that you could see an image, and you'll upload it in the Google Classroom.